Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the disability community, special education.
Yeah, so I did not go to grad school for it originally, but or undergrad, but I went to grad school for special education. And it started from high school where I was involved in Best Buddies, which is an organization dedicated to making friendships for people with and without disabilities. Um, and it was really through that club that I knew I wanted to be involved in some aspect of um, disability. I just didn't know where. So, undergrad, I did rehabilitation services, which is very broad. Um, and then later on, I realized I really wanted to get into the education field. So then I got my master's in special ed, and that's where I am now. So I'm a full time special ed teacher, and I do disability advocacy on the side. Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what are some of the things that you work on as a special education teacher and as a disability advocate? Let's start with the special education part first.
Sure. So, special education, I work in a very unique field in special education. I have a classroom um, for students with medical needs. So, the classroom is a little different, and it's building a curriculum around communication. So, really building on literacy, their AAC technologies, um, and building other curriculum around math and the core curriculum um, in inclusion. So I'm building a lot on that, and with disability advocacy, I do kind of national disability advocacy and uh, my state involvement, if that makes sense. So there's two different kinds of advocacy that I do, kind of local and national. Um, yeah, is there anything specific?
Um,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. Like my next question here is, how do you go about making sure that, students with special needs, have the tools and the resources they need to be like successful in the classroom? What kinds of tools and strategies do you use to make that happen?
yeah, that's a good question. So we use a lot of AAC technology. So AAC meaning iPads to communicate. We have eye gaze, where the student uses their eyes to communicate. We have a curriculum specialist who comes and helps me develop curriculum for my students. Um, and really working towards, I work in a public school. So we have general education teachers that I work with um, to make sure that the students are more included when they do go into their classes. So sometimes they're with me, and then sometimes they go into inclusion as well. So really working with the curriculum, this curriculum coordinator, and their inclusion teachers. So a lot of collaboration.
Yes. Who are like the main key players when it comes to like making sure that, students are successful in the classroom? In other words, who are like the key players involved? Is it combination of special education teachers? Is it the student? What who are like the main key players?
Sure. So definitely the student, making sure that they're involved in their own education. Um, the special education teacher, whoever is the general education teacher, and all the service providers. So occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, um, AEC, any curriculum specialists. So it's a really big team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My next question here is what sort of impact does your work as a special ed teacher have on not just yourself, but like as an advocate? Uh, let me rephrase that. What impact does your work as a special ed teacher and as an advocate have not just on yourself, but like what impact does it have on the greater disability community?
Yeah, so with me, they they really do teach me more than I teach them, as a lot of people say. Um, every day I'm learning so much from them. And I think just from everyone else, I think it's great if they know that there's so much more than just their disability. And I'd really like to, that's why I'm in disability advocacy, is because I want people to know that um, so many times it's way more than their disability. They're so under represented. So I like to build on that and make sure that people know that just because someone may not be able to communicate like everyone else thinks, they're still very, very smart. They know exactly what we're telling them.
Hmm. My last question here is, how can like special education, make a difference in students' lives, how can it sort of make them feel included and, welcome in the education system?
Yeah, so there's so many parts to that. So we have a lot of my students go into their inclusion classrooms, and it's a lot of collaboration with the teachers to make it inclusive. Um, everything can be adapted for a student with disabilities. It's just the way that you adapt it. They should never be excluded from anything. You can adapt it um, in multiple different ways. So it's a lot about communication and collaborating and as the team to make sure that they're included in um, classes. So a lot of adapting materials, a lot of technology, um, and moving things around for them, but they're 100% able to join inclusion.
Hmm. Yeah, those are some important points there.